Join me today for another exciting episode of Spinning My Wheels. Welcome back to those of you who've been here before. Welcome to all you folks who are new to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about some big potential major shakeups with the OGL for Dungeons & Dragons. That'd be the Open Gaming License. This is actually my second recording on this. The first video wound up being a little over 45 minutes. Probably still going to go ahead and edit and post it too, because I think everything in there is worthwhile, but I want to have a little shorter, a little more on-point version. So this one's probably going to be the one that gets posted first. So if you see the other one that says complete or whatever, it's probably going to have a similar title. Yeah, that's what it is. It's the longer version of this. Different recording, so not like this plus some other stuff. It's longer. Okay, so in the interest of keeping this simpler and shorter, I need to clarify a few things about what I'm about to talk about real quick here. First and foremost, number one, most important of all, I am not a lawyer. Nothing I'm about to say should be construed as legal advice or a legally valid interpretation of things, as in will not hold up in a court of law, okay? So don't take action based on anything I'm about to say and think you're going to be able to go into court and be like, well, that guy on YouTube said this. Like, you'll be laughed out of the courtroom. And I will not come to your defense. Sorry. I mean, if you're local, I might show up and cheer you on at the trial, but that's about it. I can't even promise that. That's a maybe. So anyway, so I'm not a lawyer. I am basing all of this on two videos that I have seen that I will link to in the description. The primary one being from the rules lawyer, who is an actual lawyer. However, again, he's not dishing out legal advice, and as he notes in the video, this is outside of his normal area of expertise, so he could be mistaken. And it wasn't until the second video that I realized this information is actually in yet a third video, which is where everyone else is getting the information. It was a live stream, and the individuals involved do appear to be considered quite trustworthy by the community. I have no idea if their source is considered trustworthy, but they themselves are, and so I'm going to go ahead and assume, for the purposes of this video, that the source is as well. Okay, so, having said all that, here's, like, in brief, for those of you that don't know, the OGL is the Dungeons & Dragons Open Gaming License. In its current form, I don't know if there are separate ones for the two separate editions. That wasn't 100% clear in the other videos, and I've been at work, so I haven't had a chance to look this up. But it is potentially two separate ones, or it's one single one. But either way, collectively, however that breaks down, it affects 3rd edition, which is 3.0 and 3.5, and 5th edition. 4th edition has a different agreement that's more restrictive, and is generally all around a bad idea. And yeah, you're gonna get some deja vu on that concept before this is over. So what that amounts to is that's Wizards of the Coast saying, look, you can make products that use the basic rules for Dungeons & Dragons, that use any creature that's not copyrighted by Wizards of the Coast. So you can use, orcs, skeletons, zombies, goblins, anything from fairy tales and mythology that hasn't been turned into a super specific D&D creature. So those would be things like the Mind Flayer, the Aboleth, the Beholder, things like that. Those Wizards of the Coast owns, and you cannot use them with the Open Gaming License. Now, that doesn't stop you from making a floating eye orb instead of a beholder and giving it the exact same stats as the beholder, that you can legally do, as I understand it. Again, don't take that as legal advice. So you can do things like that, but the big part is there's another document with it called the SRD, and I don't remember right off the top of my head what that stands for. It's, I think, Standard Resource Document, and that is, if you use the OGL, you're allowed to copy verbatim from the SRD. So it saves you from having to try to reword the rules, because you can just copy them whole cloth from the SRD. Okay, that's a really useful part, because the way all these things work is you cannot legally protect game mechanics, but what you can legally protect is the exact words of how you describe the game mechanics, similar to the content of a novel. And similar to the content of a novel, if you can change enough things around, you can republish the novel with a different name and some different characters, and you just file the serial numbers off and move some things around. Same thing with games. If you truly wanted to, you could make a clone of 5th edition, just using different terminology for things. Some things you don't have to, and just making sure that you don't use the same kind of trade dress in your books and character sheet and things like that. Okay, so that's where things are right now. And we found out a short while ago that D&D 1, the upcoming, it's 6th edition. Okay, maybe it's 5.5, but it's probably 6th edition. And that is going to be covered by a new OGL. And at the time, they mentioned some changes that are going to be in there, and a few of them do make sense to me. Like they mentioned that it's only going to cover print products, and then they listed the definition of how they define that. So I believe it does include like PDFs and things like that. Again, not a lawyer, just my understanding. However, it very clearly excludes video games. So you can't use the basic combat system and then build a video game around it. That would not work under the D&D 1 OGL. Under the current one, there's nothing stopping you from doing it. In fact, there's at least 2 Pathfinder video games, and Pathfinder is built on the 3rd edition OGL. So it stands to reason that the video games are too. If I'm guessing, but assuming that they mimic the rules of Pathfinder, then the video games are also built on that. And I'm sure Wizards of the Coast, if they could, would make sure that never happens again. And that's part of what they're trying to do here. And then if you make over $700,000, $750,000 a year on it, some high number like that, which they said affects like a grand total of like 4 companies, then you have to report that to Wizards of the Coast, because they're going to charge you some kind of royalty. We don't know what shape that's going to take, and it won't kick in until 2024. So these are some of the little tidbits that we got out of Wizards of the Coast after people raised the stink, because it was being reported that there won't be an OGL. And so they immediately came out and did damage control. And hopefully this too will cause some immediate reaction from them, because it's not good, which I'm about to detail. And before I do, if you would be so kind as to like and subscribe, I would tremendously appreciate it. But more importantly, share this video, and or if you don't find my video overly informative, share the Rules Lawyers video, because it lays it all out. And this is one of those moments where it's far more important that people know this than to us, Geek Cabal, get our clicks and our likes and our subscriptions here on YouTube. Like, this is one of those potential tipping points for things, and so it's far more important that people know what's going on than that people necessarily hear it from me. So if you feel that he does the better explanation and I'm just muddying the waters, share his video. I'd still appreciate the like and subscribe, though, if you can find it in your heart to do that. This is YouTube. That's the lifeblood of the channel. That's how I get my dopamine hit at the end of the day. So anyway, so the big problem going forward is it looks like the new OGL has some other features built into it that people are really not going to like, and that could potentially really screw people. So first and foremost, it looks like, based on the wording from what Rules Lawyer got a hold of, that if you agree to the new OGL, you retroactively lose access to the old OGL. So now you're bound by the rules of the new one, and it supersedes the old one. Now, it's not clear if they're going to try to say that, oh, well, the old one doesn't exist anymore. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think they can do that. I don't think they can do that effectively, because the old one used words like in perpetuity, as in, forever. If something is forever in the law, I don't think you can just go in and be like, well, turns out forever ended today. I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. However, Hasbro has very, very deep pockets and could probably buy an army of lawyers to try to convince a judge that that is how it works, and it will cost you a lot of money to fight them. So that's probably what they're counting on here. But I contend that you can't just destroy the other agreement unless you engage in a new agreement that clearly supersedes the other one. And if you don't do that, they can't just with a wave of their hand be like, well, the other one's not valid anymore, you suckers. So I think they're on very shaky legal ground there. But again, I'm not a lawyer. I just know from a personal anecdote that I explained in the far longer version at the very end, that I'm not going to go into here, that this is not how it works. So, at least it didn't work in the other situation I know about, that I know someone's personally involved with. That was a franchise, and licensing agreements were part of it. So anyway, the other problem is that if you agree to it, what's going to happen is you'll be allowed to sell your material that's D&D 1 compatible, and then Wizards of the Coast, like the way they state this is kind of screwy. They say that you own the rights to it. Okay, well, that's good. However, they are granted a permanent, in perpetuity, that's that lovely phrase again, access to it, that they can then take and repurpose, reprint, whatever to their heart's content, and never have to pay you a dime for any of it. Okay? And so, some of your prices are thinking, well, that's not so bad. Except what they'll do is, if it's something really dynamite, they'll give it a different name, put someone else's name on the front, because they don't legally have to acknowledge you made it. And then just start charging money for it, like way more than you could charge for it, because you're just some guy. They're Wizards of the Coast. They'll put it in a hardback book and charge $50 for it. You couldn't do that. And so they'll, people ask, well, isn't this just, the lost caverns of, chaos? Like, oh, no, this is the Howling Cave. Yeah, totally different. I mean, yeah, it looks kind of like the same, but we went some other directions with it. Here, let me get you a hold of the creative type who made this, and it's whoever's name they just slapped on the cover, because they didn't make it, you made it. All right? And so now they're out there doing that. Meanwhile, you look like a schmuck, Because people are like, oh, I can't believe this guy's claiming he made this. Clearly Wizards of the Coast made it. Even though they can check a calendar and confirm you made it first, they're not going to because they're idiots. So, as mobs tend to be. So, you'll have that problem, but you also have the problem of Wizards of the Coast reserves the right to terminate the agreement at any time for any reason, and they only have to give you 1 month's notice. So, to recap, because it's a collective bit of garbage here. So to recap, if you agree to the new OGL for D&D 1, from what everyone of this insider access is saying, you lose any rights you had under the old OGL. That's gone. You set that on fire. That doesn't exist to you anymore. That's, God has removed that from your world. Number 2, anything you make, Wizards of the Coast can remake to their heart's content, rework, reshape, never give you an ounce of credit for it. And then number 3, they can then strip you of your license, which, even though you own the material, they were clear about that, you can't reprint it, because now you don't have a license to do that anymore. And you'll probably have a certain number of days to destroy any physical copies you still have. Like, and this is insanity. Who would agree to that? I'm sure it's the hell not going to. I mean, there's no upside. Like, am I really going to sit here, build up our channel and everything, to the point that I think you fine folks, and hopefully with some feedback from you fine folks explaining this to us, want to buy some product that we produce, and we'll go off to Kickstarter land and make our $1 million over there, and then after the Kickstarter, but before fulfillment, we get some notice from Wizards of the Coast talking about how in 30 days we can't do anything with the stuff. We had to terminate it. So we've got everyone's money from the Kickstarter, but now we can't actually produce the material. So we got to give everyone their money back. We're not going to get our chunk from Kickstarter back. We're just going to be out money, period. And then Wizards of the Coast 6 months later is going to release the book we were going to release, but with a different name. And we will get no acknowledgement, no nothing. Like, no. Screw that. Like, that's insane. I don't know who on earth would agree to that. I mean, the only way I'd even consider it was if I got some kind of upfront lump cash payment. Like, here, we think this is going to sell. Here's, $50,000. Like, all right, well, something. So, yeah, I don't understand who they think is actually going to agree to that, which leads me to believe that they're really banking on thinking they can enforce the, that other thing we said lasted forever, it doesn't last forever anymore. And that's a very legally dubious position to take. So, as the other folks pointed out, though, there is one other possibility in that the whole backwards compatible thing is going to be used as a weapon to say, oh, well, since 5th edition, since D&D 1 is backwards compatible with 5th edition, then technically 5th edition falls under the new OGL. So the moment you made a new product, once we announced this, you agreed to the new OGL, which means you no longer have the old OGL. And I mean, it's one of those, common sense says this gets laughed out of court. The American legal system says, hold my beer. Let me make the dumbest ruling imaginable that's going to affect all kinds of things. And Wizards of the Coast will be on to 7th edition by the time someone successfully appeals this. So, yeah, I am not a fan of what I'm hearing. It's just bad. Like, I expected something like this because I expect the worst out of some companies. And yes, at this point in time, WotC is among them. But, yeah. Oh, sorry. Long day. But yeah, that's the problem in a nutshell right there. Is so far, I mean, God only knows in the time that between the time of me recording this, editing it, getting it online, we're probably going to find out 5 other horrible things about this whole deal. So, anyway, if you like this, appreciate you watching the longer version too once I put it up. So hopefully you guys got something out of this. Appreciate the like, share, subscribe, comment, and share are the important ones on this one. Share it around. Share the other videos around. They do a little bit better job of explaining the situation than I do. And stick around and check out the longer version. Go off on some tangents, but hopefully they better explain the situation. And yeah, well, I guess we might accelerate our plans to try out some other RPGs now, because we're gonna see what happens. Oh man, sorry. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you later.